is Paul. Thanks for joining me today. As you can see, today we are going to be talking about the ICW. We're going to be talking about specifically behind Sea Isle. We're going to talk behind Strathmere, Ocean City, and Summers Point. We are not going to be going up the Great Egg Harbor River today. That will be on Monday. But we're going to cover the ICW pretty thoroughly between Sea Isle and Summers Point. A whole lot of shallow areas, bunch of things to do in that area, so it'd be good areas to talk about. And thank you everybody for joining me this evening. I am doing this in partnership with a couple different people, a couple different groups. John Anderson, he covered a section of the Delaware River. Happy Captain's boating instruction. I'm going to cover a part of the Barnegat Bay. Mighty Huron, I probably spelled that wrong. Charters, was going to be covering tonight, but they're going to be covering Monday. They're going to be doing the Great Egg Harbor River. Sea Scout Ship 117 is also going to be covering part of the Barnegat Bay. A couple of housekeeping questions. Someone did reach out to me after the Zoom call on Monday and said, hey, this isn't what my screen looks like. It depends on what you're using to view this as to what your screen looks like. Apparently, this is what the screen looks like on my iPad. Your screen on your computer may differ from what you see, but in all honesty, hopefully it kind of resembles that. Just a kind of quick housekeeping things. Please, again, we're going to try to review and edit and post this online whenever I can have a chance to. If you can refrain from using profanity, because that's really hard to find. Same thing with treating everybody and everything with respect, because again, hard to find those things, and I don't want to be posting that stuff online. Same thing with politics. Try to keep all that stuff to a minimum. We deal with all that stuff in our daily lives. We don't have to keep going on and on about it right now with what we're doing. Same thing with keeping your video camera off. Unless you want to have us see something, or if you want to be talking or have a question, then yeah, feel free. Throw your camera on, or raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom. You can press the 3 buttons, press more, then you can press the raise the hand button, or there may even be just a figure with a hand. Raise that. I may be able to see it, I may not be able to see it. Caitlin or Ed or somebody will kind of flag me down. I will, as you saw, ask you to give me a thumbs up if I transition from one thing or another. It just kind of helps me know that you're seeing what I hope that you see, or I intend for you to see. Okay, so before we kind of delve into the chart, I'd like to kind of do a basic education thing before we really go with the charts. Something that's kind of a New Jersey boater pastime is running aground. I don't know if you've done it before, or something that you probably will do eventually. If you haven't done it, you're gonna do it. Give me a thumbs up if you have done it. All right, the Samsung phone has done it. Caitlin has done it. Ed is just going to leave his thumb up. Okay. Everybody else is not putting the thumb up, so they're not admitting that they have done it yet. So New Jersey Intercoastal Waterway is really shallow, right? It's so shallow that in some areas you just can't go outside of that channel, because if you do, you're going to run aground really quick. So the first thing you need to do if you do run aground is just shut the engine off, right? Stop that engine and then lift that outdrive. All right, you want to make sure that you're not spinning that propeller, not damaging that propeller, and you're not going to be sucking the sand in through your engine, right? So your engine is going to have some sort of a raw water intake. It doesn't matter if it's a If it's an outboard, doesn't matter if it's a jet drive, doesn't matter if it's a inboard, it's going to have some sort of a freshwater intake. That intake pipe or vent is then going to go through a rubber impeller. That rubber impeller, depending upon how fine or if that sand gets in there, could get destroyed or could get disintegrated. If that sand gets carries into your engine or into your coolant system, it could do all sorts of damage. So shut the engine off to make sure you don't do any further damage. Also, if you can leave that engine on with that propeller spinning, who knows what's also in that sand, right? Might not just be sand, it might be rocks down there. It could be not also just sand, it could be mud, and you could have seaweed down there. The seaweed could get wrapped up in that propeller. Then you had to get down there and you have to cut that seaweed off or the ropes off, and it just gets absolutely a pain in the freaking butt. All right, everybody on the call has been there at least once. If you haven't, you'll be there eventually. So then I say, lift the outdrive. You have to think about how to get off that sandbar. Hopefully, you're kind of paying attention to where you're boating. By paying attention, I mean you're watching your depth finder. You don't just watch where your boat's going, right? Okay, yeah, you're driving your car, you're looking at the road. Okay, I'm not going to run over any potholes, right? The potholes on, just have a fly jump in my head. Okay, the potholes on the water are the crab pots and they are the sandbars, right? So make sure you're paying attention to the chart plotter, what's coming up ahead of you, where those buoys are, and what your depth finder is doing. If that depth finder is changing rapidly, right? So maybe if you're in 5 foot of water and all of a sudden you're seeing you going from 5 to 3 to 2 to okay, let's bring that throttle back. Let's start skimming it down. Let's start throttling it back. So if I'm gonna hit some sand, I'm gonna hit it nice and slow. All right. I don't want to be hitting that sand going full throttle. Okay, Hank, I saw your thumbs up. Was that a thumbs up or was that a raise the hand attempt?
No, that was a thumbs up. I ran aground.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, especially back in this area, the lower half of the Jersey ICW, it's all this real fine, small area. The ICW just kind of snakes around back through the islands. It's amazing how the waters of New Jersey are so diverse. Okay, so the next is how do you get off of the sandbar, right? You don't always just have to wait for Cito to come find you. You can, lift the outdrive. Sometimes that outdrive is the only thing touching the sandbar. Maybe you just ran aground and the only thing hitting the ground is the propeller in the back and you're just churning mud. Maybe if we lift that outdrive, you get it up above the mud, up out of the sand, and maybe we just kind of drift off. All right. Maybe instead of drift off, maybe we can have a pole. We can reach down and push ourselves along that mud, get ourselves out of there. Another way you can do it is maybe get everybody up on the bow of the boat. Everybody, I think everybody when they were a child played on a seesaw, right? You get on a seesaw and you sit on one end of the seesaw and the other end goes up, right? Let's get the back of that boat up out of the water. So maybe you can get the propeller to bite some water. And by biting some water, then you can back out of that area that you were in. Okay. So if in the end, if you can't seem to get your boat unstuck, sorry for the coughing, it's going to be a trend tonight. You could always, maybe reduce the weight of your boat. The way to do that is getting off the boat. All right, let's get off the boat. Maybe that will raise the boat up just high enough that we could push it out to an area. And then once we're in an area deep enough, then hey, maybe we can then safely situate ourselves to get the weight up on the bow of the boat and then back the boat off the sandbar to an area and then we can keep going, right? But we got to make sure that we're doing this in a safe way that nobody is getting near that propeller if anybody is in the water near it. Okay. As a last resort, that you can always call Towboat US or Sea Tow. If you are going to be boating in New Jersey waters, it's like driving your car and not having AAA. You know, you definitely should have either Towboat US or Sea Tow. Definitely should have it without a doubt. Should have it. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Any horror stories out there about getting stuck? Or I know Caitlin has plenty of horror stories with her and I getting stuck as kids, but anybody have anything good out there?
Well, no real horror stories, but since we've all been there, um, the only thing I say is anytime I'm in water that I'm not very sure of, I'm going slow enough that my grounding doesn't create any long-term holdups or issues. You know, it's usually you start to feel the RPMs drop, start to feel the boat shudder. If we're going at 1,500 RPMs, we back it down to idle. That'll a lot of times lift the squat of the back of the boat up, get us on even keel. Same time we're doing that, we trim up a little bit and see if we can't get ourselves back off. But
That's
go
good.
slow like a pro for shallow areas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Anybody on the call running a jet drive?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
You're here.
When I was much more beautiful looking. Yeah, me too. You know, I've been there. Much more.
Oh, shut up. Stop.
Still, regardless. Well, I thought, man, I'm sorry. Yeah. We got there. Yeah, great.
Okay. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but it sounds like you run aground once or twice.
Yeah, no. There was another description. These.
Yeah, Captain, I ran aground. It was really a stupid thing. I just got my new boat and I'm going under the Sea Isle Bridge heading north towards Strathmere. And
Okay.
I went inside the red marker. I wasn't paying attention because I was playing with my new touchscreen and I grounded
Oh
myself
no.
real good. So I waited
Yep,
about
yep.
40 minutes for Towboat US to come up from Cape May. They pulled me off.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. You know, Towboat US or Sea Tow, look to see who is going to have the most boats where you're going to be boating. All right. Who has the most boats at the island that you're going to be boating, and go with them. All right. I work with Sea Tow, I work with Boat US. I have both memberships because I have a boat on the Delaware and I have a boat on the in Atlantic City. And you just never know. For me, I just never know who I'm gonna have to call. And they say they're not territorial, and supposedly they do honor each other's memberships. But then again, it's always good to just doesn't take much. Just throw in a Google Maps, right, and say, hey, okay, hey, Sea Tow, and it just shows you exactly where their marina is, right? Okay. Let's see, where are we starting today? This Townsend's Inlet. This is Townsend Inlet. Okay. Okay, so well, I'm not going to be covering inlets per se. Okay, I could spend an hour talking about each inlet individually because each inlet has its own separate requirements and parameters and things you got to think about and things you got to really understand. So all this discussion tonight is going to be is we're talking about intercoastal waterway back behind uh, all intercoastal waterways today. Okay, so let's start back behind Townsend's Inlet. All right, back here, there really isn't much going on back here. I know I believe I mentioned at the end of Monday's session that there are a couple anchorages. Tonight we are using the Navionics application. Everyone can see the Navionics application. Am I sharing that right now? Everyone give me a thumbs up. Let me know if I'm sharing that. Okay, good, good. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to be using the pink color because it's just the most visible on the screen. All right, so in this area, we have an anchor. Be mindful as you're traveling through this area. Every now and then, you will come across people just anchored and hanging out in this area. Same thing with this area up here. Okay, it's a free anchorage. You don't have to pay anybody to anchor there, and people do hang out overnight and just kind of relax and sleep there because there are not really any. I mean, there is one marina in the area, but a lot of people, especially the transients, they just drop their anchor and hang out there in the evening. Some of them aren't looking for anywhere real fancy. They're just looking to drop the hook and keep going. So don't be surprised if you come across them, especially if you're coming through at night. Maybe you're coming back from Nights of Venice, or maybe you're coming back in from a fishing trip. Just don't be surprised if you see them there. Okay, start going north. Okay. As we come north, most of the ICW right here kind of sticks to the island, and then it quickly goes away from the island. Everywhere that is near the island is going to be slow no wake. There is a marina here. It's Pier 88. Pier 88 does have a whole bunch of rentals. Keep that in mind if you are going to stop here. They do have a bunch of rentals, so they could have a whole lot going on right in this area. So pay attention as you're coming through. I believe they rent out some. There's some wave runner rentals. There's some pontoon boat rentals. So there's a whole bunch of people that don't necessarily know what they're doing with boats. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. Up here, you also have the Townsend Inlet Yacht Club. These guys and Sunset Pier. These guys tend to know a little bit more about what they're doing. So just got to pay attention as you're coming through here. Don't be throwing a lot of wake, because a lot of people, as they're coming in the inlet, they're just kind of they've been running for forever, and they get into this slow no wake zone, and they're just like, oh, no wake zone. I just want to keep going, but the no wake zone stops very shortly out into the marsh area, but they still just have to wait until the no wake zone breaks. Okay. We're going to keep continuing north. Right here on the bend is where the no wake zone breaks. Right here is where the no wake zone stops. Pay attention as you're coming up here. You curve into the starboard side. Make sure you stay between the green and the reds in this area and on the ICW. On the Intercoastal Waterway, keep in mind that you have to keep the green between you and the ocean seaweed, and the red between you and the land, or you and the land's rust. Okay, as we keep continuing northbound, there's another area here we have to pay attention to. There is a sandbar that has been kind of inching its way into the channel. I don't want that. I want to annotate it. Delete that. See the sandbar right here? I know I said 14 there, but there's a sandbar that's slowly been inching its way into the channel. All right, so you have to pay attention to that. So as you're coming up the river north or south on the ICW, make sure that you're staying between the red and the green in this spot, because if you suddenly don't or suddenly forget which side of the channel markers you're supposed to be on, you can very quickly oops and run aground, right? If I delete this, stop annotating and zoom out, that London thoroughfare word was a little bit smaller, but I'll annotate these sandbars. A sandbar here, and I have a sandbar here. Okay, and if I were you, oops, let me draw that better. There's a sandbar here, sandbar here, and if we read the channel markers incorrectly, and we said, and we went this way, you can see how quickly you would run aground. All right, so it's really important to remember that when you're on the Intercoastal Waterway, make sure that you're leaving the green between you and the ocean and the red between you and the New Jersey, or you and the mainland, not between you and the island. Okay. Pay attention in this area because you do have, there are some high school rowing groups that row back here, and I have come across a couple pods of dolphins back here. Make sure you're paying attention. No real any other issues back here other than the dolphin pods and the high school rowing clubs. I'm going to zoom in here because there's just obviously a whole lot of stuff going on. Okay, in here it gets a little cluttered, gets a little busy really quickly, and the current can run through here pretty quick because think of it like a garden hose, and you just kind of squeeze the garden hose, you're pinching off the garden hose, and the current going through here just kind of increases and speeds up pretty quickly. So you have a couple marinas, a couple important things going on here. I might not cover all of them. Okay. Right here, we have Larson's. I'll try to cover them all. Okay, right here we have Larson's. Wish that thing went away. Come on. Go away. Okay, right here we have Larson's. Up here we had Minmar. There is this here is the Sea Isle City Marina. There is a yacht club right here. And yeah, that's the important stuff. Okay, so other important stuff here. I'll change my color and I'll use a red. Okay. So if you're looking for interesting stuff or important stuff, okay. So Minmar Marina back here. They have a couple slips and a whole bunch of their boats get lifted in and out. So they use a rack storage system back there. Up here, down at Larson's Marina, they have a cafe called Bay Breeze Cafe. Great place for breakfast. Awesome breakfast sandwiches. And they have a fuel dock out front. There's a fuel dock right here. Good spot to stop and get gas. We have down on the lower right hand of the screen, I did not circle them yet. There's a couple places to stop and eat. I believe this over here, I may circle the wrong places, but bear with me. I believe that is the Ore House pub, which has a dock, you can dock and dine scenario. And this is Carmen's Lobster Pool. That is a dock and dine scenario. Great food, great people, good times. And there are not many dock and dine scenarios along the Jersey Shore. So to find 3 good spots in one location is pretty rare. Okay. All right, we're going to continue going northbound. Oh, word for the wise. Back here amongst the Sea Isle City Marina, there's these parking spots. Okay, make sure that you pay attention to which number you park in, because I've gotten tickets in them. And make sure you pay it correctly. The other thing is they have a whole bunch of commercial vessels that come in and out of here. This is the Starfish fleet comes in and out of here. I zoomed in on them right here for you. So if you're coming in and out to the dock and dine spots, pink. We have a dock and dine right here, and we have a dock and dine right here. Okay, so if you're coming in and out of the dock and dine spots, just be mindful that you have very large vessels that could be coming in and out right here. Okay, just be mindful of that. Pay attention to what you're doing. In addition to that, you also have the large city marina that is also there. Okay. Right. Oh, there is also a ramp right here at the city marina. Ample parking, plenty of parking. Good spot to use, as opposed to other ramps we will be mentioning today. That ramp has plenty of parking, well, not plenty of parking, but ample parking comparatively to other locations. Okay, we're gonna start heading our way north. I know I'm not sure if I mention it every webinar or every other webinar, but make sure you have a good bug spray, because there has to be about 1 million mosquitoes and no-see-ums and greenheads back here. Okay, so just going to zoom out here so you can see the lay of the land, right? So Ludlam Bay is a very shallow bay, and it can be very deceiving. So make sure you're paying attention and that you follow the channel markers. It's very important. Follow channel markers back here, because if you don't, you're going to run aground pretty quickly. All right, if I zoom back in to the channel here, we're only talking about a 5 to 6 foot depth in the channel. As soon as you go outside, of course, that's at low tide. As soon as you go out of the channel, you're only talking about 4 foot, 3 foot. If I go further away, we're still 3 foot, 1 foot, 2 foot. All right, you're not going to go far outside that channel before you run aground. Okay. All right, let's continue. There is a marina called the Whale Creek Marina. I do not suggest cutting across Ludlow Bay. I suggest taking this back channel to get to it. As soon as you get through Ludlam Bay, there is a channel off to the starboard side. You would take that channel and then you would follow it back around. It does wrap around a little bit, but you have plenty of water through here. A couple good hidey holes, good spots to pull some fish out of, good sandbars to pull. I haven't gone back here yet this year to know the condition of the sandbar entering the Whale Creek, but pay attention to it. Make sure that you're staying on the ocean side of this creek. I'll highlight this sandbar here. We have the sandbar right here, right? So make sure as you're coming in, if you're coming in, that you stay to the ocean side on your way in. Okay. All right, we're making our way down Whale Creek to Whale Creek Marina, obviously. Down here at Whale Creek Marina. These guys do have a whole bunch of supplies, and they do have. I mean, these guys are at a pretty good setup comparatively. So, I mean, if you're looking for some decent stuff, swing by there. Decent setup compared to some of the marinas that I've walked into. Some of them are set up like mom and pop shops. This one's set up pretty good, but they do have a whole bunch of rental boats. So keep that in mind if you go there. Just be, keep that in mind. They do have a whole bunch of rental crab boats, those little rinky-dink crab boats that are going out of there. So you don't know who you're gonna be pulling up against. Okay, gonna make our way back out to the ICW. That just so happens to either butt up against it, but we do have two options here. Oh, go back up to the ICW, I'm sorry. Follow down to Whale Creek Marina, which is right here. At Whale Creek Marina, we're gonna go find our way back out to the ICW. Okay, now we're on the ICW, and now we'll zoom out. And we will continue following the ICW up. Again, make sure you're sticking to the channel. All right, at the ICW here, you have technically two options. This is kind of like your fork in the road moment. You could either you can go this way, or you can go this way. Your choice. All right, option A or option B. Option A will take you down to Strathmere. Okay, option B will take you around Corson's Inlet and have you avoid Corson's Inlet completely, so you don't get involved with any of that stuff over there. So depending upon what you want to do and what your goal is, the option to go to Corson's Inlet may be attractive, or the option to avoid Corson's Inlet may not be attractive. Your choice, you do you. Okay, but for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to go to Corson's Inlet because there's plenty more to talk about there. All right, so we're going to make our way to Corson's Inlet. When you do that, make sure unfortunately the ICW this is where it will kind of change, though. The ICW continues its way towards the north side, right? So this might confuse people. The ICW wants to go in this direction. Okay, that's the ICW. So if you go that way, then we will have green between us and the ocean and red between us and New Jersey. Okay. If we go the other way, if we go this way, we are now entering the inlet. And in that scenario, we will then have it reverses. Okay. And in that scenario, you will have red, right, returning from the ocean. Okay. So now we will have green on our right going back to the ocean, and red will be on our port side. Okay, so now it's kind of just, it switches on us. So it's important to know where we are. Okay, so if we want to get down to where it's going to be fun, we're going to keep following this down, and we can see where the sandbars are. That's why today I have the settings. That's why I'm using Navionics, and that's why I have the settings on sonar chart and satellite imagery. That way I can see the sandbar and I can see the contour lines. All right, if I remove the overlay, it's just going to be a green blob. And what's the fun in that? I'd rather see the satellite imagery. Okay. Coming down here. And now we are approaching Strathmere. Down here in Strathmere, there's a whole bunch of things to look at and to do and to eat. A couple of things to stop, a couple of places to do. Okay, right here, we have Twisties. The thing is still there. Okay, annotate, pink. Right here, we have Twisties. That is a basically a bar on the water. You can pull up to it, get a slip, go up there, eat. Absolutely good time. And have a good time. Plenty of things to do. In addition to that, we also have the, I don't know how to pronounce it, the Buoy Inn, which is over here.
Deauville.
The Buoy, what?
Deauville.
Deauville Inn. Thank you. Thank you. The Deauville Inn. Does the Deauville Inn still have those plastic docks?
Yes,
Okay.
and they have a good crew out there to dock you all the time. So it's
They do?
pretty nice, yeah. Bunch of
Okay.
yellow shirts out there.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great. So I know I've pulled in there a couple times when they first got those plastic docks and it wasn't that fun. But if they have people out there helping dock, that's a whole lot better now. In fact, I used to just pull up to the beach and hop out and eat there, but that's huge. So yeah, plenty of places here to eat. Absolutely good time. Great place to go. In addition to that, we also have a ramp right over here. I missed it as I panned through here. It's down. I got the pan to the bottom left. It's right at the bottom here, all the way down here. All right. Now, as that comes into view, you can see how wonderful the parking is at this ramp. And it's all the way at the end of this island. So you only have a couple options of ramps in this area. You have this one, and then you had the old one all the way at the other end of the island, or the middle of the island. So which one are you going to choose? I would not choose this one. Or if you did choose this one, plan ahead, put the boat in, plan to park your truck and trailer elsewhere, because you either have that little spot to park in front of it, or you're parking along the road, and then I don't know what you're going to do. Okay. You do you. All right, so after you put your boat in the water, what are you going to do? You're either going to go to Twisties to get some food, or you're going to go to Deauville to get some food, or you can go to the beach. Now, Strathmere side, this changes every year. Do we know if they're going to be allowing beaching this year? Does anyone know?
At the Deauville, it's jet skis only now.
Okay.
Because they
Or
redid
no,
their, I'm sorry.
on the ocean side of the bridge.
Yes, you can dock there, but you can't further in the Corsons. The park rangers chase you out now. But so you have
Yeah.
to stay on the side of the Corson's Inlet,
Okay.
the Deauville side.
Okay.
But that's where we
Yeah.
hang out. That's a good time.
Absolutely a good time. So what he was alluding to is, I'll zoom into this. So you can see here how we have a stretch of beach. All right, I'll delete those circles. Right along here, you just beach your boats, you beach your wave runners and have a good time. Beach your wave runners, get off, climb on in there, get some food, and have a good time. No sweat to it. Boats are getting pushed out further and further nowadays. Really struggling. A lot of people just anchor their boats off a little bit further and then they wade in. Okay, on the inlet side of the bridge, this is where I was just talking about. This area is where it changes every year. All right. Every year they decide or they change the rule whether or not they're going to allow you to beach the boat or not. Every year it changes. The same thing applies on the other side of the inlet. I can zoom in. And as I zoom in, you see that there's boats on the beach. You see there's boats on the beach. But as I zoom in, it's not the case anymore. Again, this is another area where it changes every year. They change the rule every year. I do see people just kind of anchor a couple yards away and then they wade in, but sometimes the rangers kick them off for even doing that. Just shot in the dark. But what I do see people do is they anchor in this kind of stream here. I do see people anchoring in here, just hanging out. That's what they do. Just anchor in there and hang out. Be mindful of the swell. Anytime you cross a inlet, I haven't mentioned that at all. Anytime you cross an inlet, just be mindful of the ocean energy, right? That ocean is going to have a whole bunch of energy as you go to cross it. Just be mindful of that. All right, let's continue going north. Now here is the Corson's Inlet boat ramp. It's a pretty popular boat ramp. A lot of people tend to use this one and not the one on the Strathmere Island. That's for obvious reasons. A whole lot easier to get to. All right. Now this kind of snakes around. If you go this way, you go back to Strathmere. That goes all the way through the marshes, all the way back to Strathmere. Now if we go this way, we go to Ocean City. Let's make our way to Ocean City. As you go to Ocean City, stick to the channel. It's pretty easy to do as long as you're following the channel markers and you don't run aground just by following the channel markers. In this area, we are now on the Intercoastal Waterway. So we're leaving the red between us and New Jersey, and we're leaving the green between us and the ocean seaweed. Okay. Continuing through. I know it says there's a train bridge here. There's no train bridge there. I don't know why. It says there's a vertical clearance of 2 feet because there's no train bridge there. Maybe there was at one time. There was no train bridge there. It just kind of snakes around. Kind of keep following it. Nothing really going on. Okay, now we start entering the main area of Ocean City. First marina we're going to come to is going to be, this is Blue Water Marina here on the starboard side. I can circle it right here. All right, good friends of ours. Yeah, they have a lot of water area over here, but to be mindful, there used to be, I'm pretty sure there still is, a sandbar. Yes, there is. So I'll trace this thing for you. This is a sandbar. Okay, so to get that to that marina, what you need to do is you stay in the channel, and then once you get to the marina, then you go along the marina to go into the marina. Okay, or you go past the marina to get to these houses. That's how you get into these areas. Okay, make sure you don't do not. I'll change this to red. Do not do this. I've seen quite a few boats get stuck right there because they attempted to do that. Okay, going to keep going north. All right, right here we have a couple of things, a couple of spots. Now, all right, we have All Seasons Marina right here on the left side. In addition to that, let's talk about All Seasons Marina. I'm not sure if they've done any dredging over here, but All Seasons Marina, does anyone know if they've done any dredging over here at all? Recently? All right, well, the last couple times that I've been to this marina, there has been basically no water at low tide. There is a fuel dock. You can see where that fuel pump is. That fuel pump has plenty of water. Over here has plenty of water. That's good to go. Back here, you have to be real careful back here. And in this big giant trough in here. There's no water in there at low tide. You have to be real careful. If they do have a lift service, they do have a rack service, an indoor storage rack service. That's what this big building is. To get in and out of there, what they do suggest is that when you come in here, you really hug this side here, and then you immediately dock right there. They don't want you going out too far to this old bulkhead. There's an old bulkhead there. If you go out there, you're going to run aground. They want you hug in there. Relatively newer bulkhead, but there really is not much water in there. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep going north into Ocean City. As we go into Ocean City, now we're going to start funding a whole lot of large open area, but the open area is deceiving. Okay, just because it widens does not mean it deepens. And this is where people start getting stuck, because they come out here and they say, oh, hey, look at all that gigantic open water between what they try to do. No, not that. All right, because I'll zoom out here. All right, look at all that giant open water. It looks open, looks like you can go straight across. What they want to do is they want to do a manual line. I see people do it all the time. They go from here to here. That's what they do. And they get stuck. All right, or what they do is they go from there to there and they get stuck because they don't know that it's deep. I mean, how shallow it is. They don't realize how shallow that is. Yes, I want to delete that. All right, so let's zoom in on this so you can actually see how shallow this is. All right, so we're looking in these shallow areas, and I'm only seeing 2 feet. There's some spots that's 4 feet, some spots that's 3 feet. Some areas you can get through as long as you know where to get through. And I'm not really going to be highlighting them here because I don't want you guys coming back to me saying, hey, you said I can get through there and I ran aground, so it's your fault I ran aground. I'm not being that person. So for purpose of this, stick to the channel in this area. Go all the way around the island, go underneath the Route 9 bridge, come back underneath the Route 9 bridge in order to get to Summers Point. Okay. All right, coming over here, approaching the Route 9 bridge, the first Route 9 bridge. Right here by the Route 9 bridge, that's where you're gonna find the 10th Street Wharf. There is a fuel dock there. I'm not sure if the marina's gonna be open this year or not. The website went nowhere. The Facebook page had some activity late last year, but nothing new this year. So I'm not exactly positive. Would absolutely be a shame if it closed. All right. Now, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of pink. So the pink sailboats indicate a yacht club or a marina or a similar location. And unfortunately, it can be deceiving on this map, because if a condominium association has a marina that is associated with it, and the only way to get a slip is to be a condominium owner, they could still be considered a marina according to this platform. Okay, so just because you see a symbol on this doesn't necessarily mean that it is a marina. So keep that in mind as you are going through this. Or if you are using an app similar to this, keep that in mind. Make sure you do your homework ahead of time to make sure there's an actual marina at that location. Okay, but Caitlin just pasted a series of links into the chat so you can see it. Okay, what I do want to highlight in this area is the this year is the 70th annual Night in Venice celebration. If you've never gone to that, this is supposed to be a great year for that. What that is a parade, and people decorate their boats. What they do is they start somewhere around over here, and it goes all the way down here, and it just keeps going. And then it's usually stopped somewhere around here. All right. Absolute blast. Crazy bunch of people. In the past, sometimes it has turned around. They kept on going back. We'll see what it does this year. It's 250, so it'll probably be, 70th. So it'll probably be something over the top. We'll see what it is. To look for something cool to do, it's July 26th. Sorry, Caitlin, I gave you the wrong number. Not July 6th, July 26th. Okay. That. Okay, now let's talk about how do we get to Summers Point from Ocean City. This spot right here is very complicated and very confusing. There's a whole lot going on. So let's see if we can make this simpler to look at. I'm going to change this to the nautical view. Okay, this is the one moment that I will say, okay, all those contour lines made it way too busy. All right, that might even make it way too busy. Let's see if we can make that even better. How about this? All right, that made it even better. Okay, I can figure this out. Let's see what it is. Let's zoom in. So right here, we have a couple of roads that we're looking at. We have a road that goes this way. All right. We have a road that comes from here. We have a road that goes this way. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we have a road that goes this way. Road that goes this way. A road that goes this way. Like that. Yep, like that. Okay, cool. So it can be deceiving. So make sure that you're paying attention to where you're going and what road that you're on, right? So when you're on the Intercoastal Waterway, you are keeping the green between you and the ocean, right? You between you and the seaweed. When you're on a river or an inlet is always a river. You keep red on your right when returning from sea, when you're going from a large body of water to a small body of water. Red when we're returning from sea. Okay, so if we're looking at this chart, we're coming in from the ocean from the bottom right. This is the ocean down here, coming in from the ocean, and we have a red buoy, two red buoys on our right, and we have a red buoy on our right, and then we would continue into Ocean City. All right, seems to have a lot going on here. I wish I could just delete that red line, but I can't. Coming up, I'll start again. Coming up from the ocean, coming in underneath Route 9 Bridge. I have two red channel markers. All right, and now I'm going to turn and I'm going to go up to these channel markers, going up to Summers Point. Okay. This red channel marker here, I'm not sure why it's red. It should be a red and green. I'm not sure it's why it's red. It should be a bifurcation, or it should be a multiple color buoy to indicate that it's red and green because of the sandbar that's on the other side of it. Okay, you have to respect that buoy. You have to go around that buoy before you go up into towards Summers Point. Same thing if you're going from Summers Point to Ocean City, go around that buoy. Make sure you don't run aground. Okay. Now I'll see if I can zoom in on this. No, it gets smaller as I zoom in on it. But there's this dotted magenta line. Not sure if you can see that there. But the dotted, no, I don't want to search. Go away. It goes dot, 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 dot. That is the Intercoastal Waterway. Okay. And you can see the path that it follows. The path that it follows goes up around this buoy, and it follows and it slinks its way along these buoys, right? It goes between the reds and the greens, squeeze around that sandbar before it goes up and around up towards Atlantic City. Okay. Maybe when I'm looking at this chart, that's so I know that I have to stay to that particular side of that red buoy. And because I go in and out of here quite a bit. So that buoy should be a red and a green. I don't know why it's not. Technically, that red buoy is for the Intercoastal Waterway. It just happens to be also the red for the inlet. I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right, I know we're a little bit over time, but I had Summers Point on the list, and it's only just right here. Switching it back to sonar chart and satellite imagery. All right, this is all only spot here where I wanted to cover for tonight. Up here, we have a couple spots here, good spots. We have, let's see. We have Harbor Cove. Caitlin's going to drop in all the links here. Right here we have on top of my crosshairs. This is Harbor Cove Marina. Good spot. We have over here we have Grave Boatyard. Grave Boatyard did have, last time I checked, they did have a travel lift to pull you in and out. Be careful when you are coming in and out of this area. I have taught at some of these houses to teach people how to dock their boats here, and that current can rip in and out of there. So just be mindful of that current when you're traveling that area. Slide. All right, back in here is Harbor Cove and Jersey Yacht Sales. Just kind of like a conglomerate of a marina. A lot of boats in there, plenty deep enough. Good area. The entrance there is, it can be tricky when that current is ripping out. Right, so when that current's going fast that way, it can sometimes have to, just kind of either gun it or really kind of slide yourself into that entrance, or just really be paying attention, especially when you have a boat coming out. All right, so make sure you're paying attention as you're going in and out of there. All right, something else over here is we have a fuel dock. This is associated with Jersey Shore Yacht Sales over here, South Jersey Yacht Sales. All right, we'll keep sliding down here a little bit further on Jersey Shore Yacht. I'm not on Summers Point. Again, a whole bunch of stuff going on over here. Some neat stuff. I'm not sure if it's on there. Probably isn't. Okay, so where to stop and eat? Let's see, do some circles. All right, so right here we have crab trap. That is really yummy food. Right here, there is they call it the Point. I don't really know what it is. It's like a beach bar. Absolutely fabulous food. Good times going. You can pull your boat up, dock and dine kind of situation. Good times. Where's another one? Not sure where it went. Not seeing it. All right, not seeing it offhand. All right, not seeing it. Okay. In addition to that, you also have right here. We also have Waterfront Marine, big boat dealer right here. You have Smith's Marina and Summer Point Marine. You also have Tavern on the Bay, that is over here. Not sure if they have a dock and dine over there or not. That could be the other one I was thinking of. Waterfront Marine does have a ramp that you can use. There's also another ramp over here. Pan, don't draw. Right here. Yeah, there's a ramp right there. Kennedy Park ramp. Okay. And while I'm here, can't help but have to mention it. Have to mention Beasley's Beach. That's right here. Beasley's Beach. You can drop. They have a cafe there. Absolutely blast of a place. That's a wave runner marina. So they will help you drop in. They will help you service. They will do all sorts of stuff. Good place. launch, retrieve. They even have a beach there. If you remember, you can beach your skis. It's a great place. Yeah. Right, and
There's
that
a ramp there
is-
too. There's a ramp
there
at the
is?
Tuckahoe Inn. There's the Tuckahoe Inn, and there's a Upper Township has redone that beach, and they have a really nice boat ramp there.
The
Look at
ramp is great, but you've got to fight for parking sometimes.
That is a true statement.
Yeah.
Look at that. Learn something new every day. I've gone there 50 times to Beasley's Point, and I've never seen the ramp.
Tuckahoe Inn and Back Bay Cafe. Excellent.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a nice it's not a porta potty, it's actually a nice bathroom there. And you can actually, there's a little bit of space. People moor a couple sailboats there. And then there's actually a lifeguard beach there for a part of Upper Township. And then you can actually walk that walkway going across the Parkway Bridge if you want, to the Summers Point side.
Beautiful.
Just something different.
Sweet. Switch back to. All right. Yeah, we did talk about running aground. We did do that. And no, that was this session. The next session, we're going to be talking about the Great Egg Harbor River. That'll be the next section. Because that's enough water. It's a lot of water we'll cover. But yeah, so did anybody have any questions or anything they wanted us to zoom in on that I did not zoom in on earlier?
Hey, Paul, I'll add one thing on the changing over from getting to Beasley's Point by All Seasons Marina there. Peck's Bay is actually a lot more friendlier than you were talking about getting stuck cutting across. You can run through Peck's Bay, even at dead low tide.
Okay.
It's actually not a bad run, and it takes you straight from All Seasons. There's no wake zones, and you can run all the way, up into Beasley's Point there and get access to the rivers without going through any no wake zones.
All right, where are we talking?
So when you go from All Seasons Marina there.
Okay, all the way back here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see as you're moving around. So you go from All Seasons Marina, like right there. You can kind of come in. Basically, if you travel the middle of Peck's Bay there, you'll see the crab pots there, and you can actually see when you look at the actual chart, you can see where the natural deepest spot is. It's like 3 foot mean low water, and it's pretty consistent. It's only when you enter by All Seasons Marina, you got to get past the marina at least 50 feet. I usually come up almost all the way up on that first island, about halfway in, and then just run straight down the center of the, you can even see some streaks of boats on the map there.
Yeah,
But
we can see that there.
yeah, so I mean, we run that. I mean, I run that in my 34. If it's not dead tide, I'll run up there in my 34. But, you
Hmm.
know, we run the smaller boats, the 21 and under through there. I mean, even at spring low tides, you know, we may occasionally, churn a little mud when the spring low tide, but it's pretty, it's pretty good. Once you have your spot and you got your tracks down, you can be very comfortable running through there.
Okay.
Try that.
Yes, basically straight down. Yep, exactly. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And it cuts out all the no wake zone and all the nonsense over there and having to drive all the way around, all the way up the Great Egg Inlet to get around.
Yeah. Hey, anytime I can avoid a no wake zone, I'm all for that.
Yeah. And I don't, we talked about running aground, and I will unashamedly say that I've lost count how many times, but I've never run aground in there.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
Save some distance. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. Right. Do we have anything else?